On the road starting the month of September tomorrow with a Labor Day game in Miami, finishing off a homestand today. And what the Mets need more than anything else is to find some hits here at Citi Field.
And also, this is the rubber match of the series here at home, as well as it's a very important rubber match of the series because whoever loses this game is going to be in the cellar. And the Mets don't want to be in the cellar, I'm sure.
Mets have not been in last place for a couple of months. Phillies have occupied that spot since late June. There's your Hyundai starting lineup for the Phillies today. A day off for Marlon Byrd after he homered on his 37th birthday last night. So Grady Sizemore is playing right field. Day off for Carlos Ruiz. Will Nieves will do the catching. But the trio of Rollins, Utley, and Howard perseveres every day. As Dylan G, who finally found the formula to pitch well against the Phillies the last time he faced them and got a win in his last start against the Braves.
Well, when Dylan went on the DL, he was 3-1 at the time with an ERA below 3. But since his return, he's gone 2-5 with an ERA of 4.77. But as Gary said, his last start against the Braves was a no decision. I'm sorry, it was a win, but a good one. And he pitched a good ball game. And we'll take a look at the Metsy Lexus defense. Dendecker and Neuenhuis, the two youngsters in the corners. Actually, there's three youngsters out there. Herrera, who's been very impressive at second base with his bat as well as his gloves, made all the plays. He's going to play every day. And Anthony Recker, who hasn't started since that series in Oakland. It's been quite some time for Anthony to be back in the lineup.
Fans coming in through the Jackie Robinson Rotunda. Got their lunch cooler bags today on Family Sunday. Last game of the homestand, Sunday of Labor Day weekend. Everything changes after Labor Day, you know. School starts.
Yes, it does. The party's over.
Ben Revere will lead things off for the Phillies. Revere 1 for 9 in this series, facing Dylan G, who's had troubles over the years against Philadelphia, but pitched a brilliant game against them 3 weeks ago in Philadelphia. Gave up just 3 hits and a run in 7 innings, a no decision for him. Revere third in the National League in batting. G's first pitch is up and away, and we're underway on a humid day at Citi Field. It's been such a cool summer that this 84-degree humid day feels like we stepped into a bowl of soup. Call strike to Revere, 1-1.
7 lefties in this lineup to face G today. Rollins, the sole switch hitter.
The clean-shaven Dylan G on a Sunday afternoon. And Revere slaps one foul, and it's 1-2. Revere picked up his 150th hit of the year last night.
Now all he needs is a stolen base for 40. We get it in. Thank you. I totally forgot about it. See?
Well, G will try and be stingy with Revere this afternoon with Rollins and Utley to follow. And Dylan's 1-2 as a curveball bounced down to first. Easiest to play is for Duda for the first out of the day. So 1 out and nobody on, and now Rollins. Jimmy's 2 for 8 in this series, had 2 hits last night. Now just 2 shy of 2,300 for his Philadelphia career, most hits that a Philly has ever had. And he has had a lot of success against Dylan G, as have many of the Phillies. Rollins in 28 career at bats against G, hitting .464 with 2 home runs.
Yeah, G has never really fared well against the Phillies, although the last game, as Gary mentioned, he started against them, was outstanding with 13 starts, or actually 13 games, 12 starts. He's got an ERA over 6.
And Rollins takes a fastball inside for ball 1.
What year was that year he came in relief? Remember, and Howard hit the home run off. Was it a grand slam off him or something? In Philadelphia, you recall that?
Was that right before the All-Star break?
Yeah, it was early in G's career, very early.
Curveball to Rollins in for a strike, 1-1. G spent 2 months on the disabled list with a lat injury. Went down in the second week in May, didn't come back till the last start before the All-Star break, and pitched well that first game back against Atlanta. As Rollins pops one up right near the mound. Who's going to take it? David Wright taking charge. And it almost got away from him.
That's Herrera's ball.
David was calling, and of course he's got more seniority than Dilson Herrera, who's playing his 3rd big league game. So Herrera, I think, was shy about calling him off.
Well, Herrera's that's his ball. A little reluctant to come in for it. with David being so aggressive.
David looked over to Herrera to see if he was going to get there and wasn't sure he would, so he stayed with it.
Okay, a lot of things in today's game. They do a lot of the pregame. It's a day game. No one on the field today. You got to find out which way the wind's blowing.
It is breezy afternoon amidst the humidity. 2 out and nobody on. Here's Chase Utley, 3 for 9 in this series, hitting .280 for the year. G gets the fastball over for a strike. Phillies are in one of their better stretches of the year. They won 5 of their last 6. Before coming in here, they swept a 3-game series at home from the Nationals. The Nats have bounced back from that, gone out to Seattle and won the last 2 days. So they're 7 games up in the division and looking like they might be home free with less than a month to go. And Utley fouls one back, 1-2. Ryan Howard would be next. He has been very successful in the first inning throughout his career. Busts the slider in on Utley and strikes him out to finish off the first inning. 1-2-3 go the Phils. Mets come to bat at the bottom of the first against A.J. Burnett when we come back.
Very sharp with his breaking ball.
The number 2 hole, Wilmer Flores moves up to 5. Curtis Granderson and Travis d'Arnaud get the days off. Kirk Neuenhuis, his first start in more than 3 weeks. Anthony Recker, first start in 10 days. And the Mets will send that lineup out against the former Met farmhand, A.J. Burnett.
Well, it's not been a good year for Burnett. 7-14. Off a good start. Said he figured out his mechanics. Boy, it took him a long time. Here we are, September 1st. Ranks 46th on the all-time strikeout list. Needs 2 more to pass early win in the Phillies Coors Light defense. Sizemore goes to right field and Dominic Brown in left. Same infield. These guys are out there every day. And Chooch gets a rest. The veteran Will Nieves gets a start.
Juan Lagares will lead off for the 4th straight game. He's gone 1 for 11 in the previous 3. And A.J. Burnett's first offering is up and in for ball 1. Burnett went 7 innings against Washington on Monday, struck out 12, a season high. And he produced a quirky major league record with that outing. Keith mentioned that Burnett is 46th all time on the strikeout list, but he's the only pitcher ever to have 12 or more strikeouts for 5 different teams.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, he's bounced around, that's for sure.
Started out with the Marlins, Toronto, the Yankees, Pittsburgh, and now Philadelphia. And he's had a 12 strikeout game for all 5.
He has 154 career wins, ranks 5th among ML Major League pitchers, active pitchers.
1-2 to Lagares with Dendecker and Wright to follow.
And what's always been his issue, Gary, he's got 77 walks, and that leads the National League.
Well, we talked about this the last time we saw Burnett, the fact that here's a 37-year-old pitcher leading the league in walks, and that's so rare. And really, other than knuckleball pitchers, it's never happened that a pitcher with this much experience, this old, has led the league in walks. Usually those numbers come down as you get older. Curveball in there for a call, strike 3, and Lagares caught looking for the first out. So 1 out and nobody on. Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light, and there is Burnett at the top of the walk list by a fairly healthy margin. Zach Wheeler tied for 2nd. That's a place no one wants to be.
Well, Nolan Ryan was there for a long time, wasn't he?
He figured it out, though, later in his career and got those walk numbers down. Here's Dendecker. First time in his career he's hit 2nd in the order. Matt had a good night last night with a couple of hits. Got his average up to 200 for the year, and he takes up and away from Burnett for ball 1. It's the 4th time the Mets have faced Burnett this year, and they've hit him hard in each of the previous 3. 5 runs, 7 runs, 5 runs against Burnett in the 3 starts against the Mets this season. Ball and a strike to Dendecker. David Wright waiting on deck. Burnett has hinted that this might be his final season. We'll see. He and the Phillies have a mutual option for next year, as Dendecker takes a big cut at the curveball and misses 1 and 2.
Both pitchers out of the chute throwing good breaking stuff.
Yeah, he's always had a great curveball, that hard curve. The problem has been sometimes figuring out how to throw it in the strike zone. 1 and 2 to Dendecker with Wright on deck. 1 out and nobody on.
He's one of those pitchers, the reason why he's bounced around. He's got a golden arm, golden breaking ball, and every organization says we're going to get him at the right time. We're going to get him harnessed and become the pitcher he should. Because really, if he could just ever got command of his pitches, he'd have 200 wins, 250 wins.
Slapped to short. Rollins on the back end. And the overhand throw gets Dendecker by a stride. 2 out.
Well, I tell you what, that's an AB for Dendecker. But in 2 nights, last 2 games, he's hit the ball to left field. Right at the shortstop. He got a base hit the other night. That's what he has to do. He's been pulling a little bit too much. And now he's getting back where he's using left center field, and I like that. To me, even if it's a ground ball in the infield, Gary, when it's hit at the shortstop, that's still hitting a ball to left center field. Does that make sense?
Sure, it's the same general direction.
Thank you.
Just didn't get that far.
Okay.
Right with 2 out and nobody on. David is 1 for 6 in this series. Go back to the swing of Dendecker here.
He stays in and hits the ball where it's pitched. Look at that, ball's away, and you hit it right about his belt buckle as far up at the plate.
1-1 to Wright. Davis played 38 games since the All-Star break. He has 2 extra base hits in those 38 games. Curveball off the plate, 2 and 1. No home runs, 8 RBIs, a .207 batting average since the break with a .221 slugging percentage.
It has been a very concerning second half for David Wright.
And this is a pitcher who's never hit well even in the best of times. He's just 4 for 31 lifetime against A.J. Burnett. Lucas Duda would be next. You see how the production has just fallen off the charts in the month of August. His OPS this month sub-replacement level. He bangs that one into center field, and he's got himself a 2-out hit.
Hanging slider.
So the Mets have the first base runner for either side.
Hanging breaking ball right inner half. David just not generating any lower body in his swing, just very upper body.
So when you look at that swing, you don't say, well, it looks like he has a bad shoulder.
No, I really don't know one way or the other. But we've had conflicting reports. David's adamant it's not bothering him.
But just from the way it looks to you as a trained observer,
doesn't look like it's bothering him.
There's Duda, just 2 for 19 on this homestand after a big road trip in California, and he pulls one to right into the shift. Utley playing in shallow right field, throws him out, and that'll do it for the Mets in the bottom of the first. Dylan G heads back to the mound for the second with no score. Second inning, no score. Ryan Howard will lead off against Dylan G. Howard has 6 home runs against G in just 23 career at bats. This has been a big reason why G has struggled so much against the Phillies. And he gets the first pitch in for a strike.
This is a summer day, really. Is it the first or 31st?
31st, last day of August.
And it's more of a sultry, hazy day.
We haven't had too many of those this
summer. And we got some rain coming on from the west, but I think this game will get in. Probably come in later tonight.
G strikes out Howard on 3 pitches. His second strikeout. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com for a free rate quote. By Cholula Hot Sauce, the flavorful hot sauce with the iconic wooden cap introduces the new green pepper sauce flavor. Pick up the perfect punch of jalapeno and poblano today. By Pepsi, for more of MLB's most thrilling moments, check out MLB.com/Pepsi. And by Hyundai. Hyundai leaves the rest wanting. Find out why by visiting buyhyundai.com today. Here's Grady Sizemore. Sizemore started the first game of this series Friday night and famously dropped a fly ball with the bases loaded that decided the game. Pinch hit last night and drew a walk. Sizemore has played 40 games as a Philly, and he's hitting .305 after not performing well at all in a Red Sox uniform. Trying to reclaim his past glory. Dominic Brown waiting on deck.
Still got a fast bat. No reason why he shouldn't.
He hit his first home run as a Philly here at Citi Field against Dylan G back in July. Hit it off the foul pole in right field. The game we were sitting in center field, I recall. I think we were eating tacos at the time with some Cholula green pepper sauce.
Oh, the first time we got turned on to that.
Here is that home run.
Down and in slider.
Blank. There was a period of time early in his career when Grady Sizemore was considered one of the 3 or 4 best players in baseball. He could do it all. He could hit with power. He's a great fielder. Won a couple of Gold Gloves. Could run. But then the injuries began, and it's been 5 or 6 years since he's been able to go out there and play every day. Two coming from G, and he gets him with the changeup. Back-to-back strikeouts for G to start the second. He's now struck out 3 in a row.
All those fastballs, and then he comes with the little sink and change right down the middle. It's very alluring, that pitch. Don't fall into the traps. It's like Cersei silently singing. Can't let the siren bring you to the island.
Hit the rocks, then you're in big trouble. Here's Dominic Brown with 2 out and nobody on. Brown 1 for 5 in this series. If only you had warned Odysseus.
A little Greek mythology for your Sunday. Also a little bit of cream.
G behind in the count 2-0, and Brown cracks one to deep right center field. Neuenhuis looks up near the wall, and it's off the fence. And Brown will pull into second base with a 2-out double.
Well, that's a home run in Philadelphia, and it's such a different dynamic when these two teams play each other. Even when the Phillies were on top of their game, it was always advantage for the Mets with this bigger ballpark. And remember, when they played the Phillies, when the Phillies were on top of their game and dominating the East, it was a bigger, they didn't bring the fences in. But when you play in Philadelphia, it was very fearful with that power lineup the Phillies put at you.
This year, the Mets had enormous success in Philadelphia. They won 8 of the 9 games played there. Or 8 of the 10, excuse me. 4-4 here at Citi Field. Here's Will Nieves playing for the first time in the series. Takes a curveball for a strike, and that's how the two teams have done head-to-head this year. Mets are 1.5 per game better than the Phils. If the Mets were to win today, they'd match their most ever wins in a season against Philadelphia.
They would be finished 5-4. They're 4-4 right now here at Citi Field. Mets win 8-2 in Philadelphia.
Ball and a strike to Nieves. Will Nieves, now 36 years old, playing with his 7th major league team. Cody Ashley, the number 8 hitter, would be next. G retired the first 5, struck out 3 in a row before giving up the double to Brown with 2 out. And with the sun shining, Nieves fouls one back, 1-2. It's been kind of a hazy day so far. Sun just made an appearance.
It's very interesting. When I drove to the ballpark this morning, it was overcast, no sun. I got around mid-island, and the sun popped out. And it's stuff supposed to be coming from the west. It didn't make sense.
We need to get you a certification.
Oh, thanks. Send
you off to
I got
American
better.
Meteorological Society.
No, I got better things to do in my life.
How many?
Well, I'm going to get recertified for scuba diving. I've made up my mind this winter. I used to dive a lot. I want to get back into it.
So rather than be certified for the atmosphere, you're going to be certified for the beneath.
Right. Don't want to get the bends. I got to know when to come up and how long to hang at 10 feet.
Don't want anything bad to happen to you down there. 1-2 coming to Nieves, and he gets him with a high breaking ball. So G strikes out 3 in the inning and works around the double from Dominic Brown. No score in the middle of the second. Far.
Yep. Little Pepsi. Uh-oh. That's too big.
Getting that swing refined. Want to be a big leaguer.
No big gulp. Didn't that get overturned by a court? I think it did.
Wilmer Flores hitting 5th in the order for the first time this year. Leads off for the Mets in the home second against A.J. Burnett. And he takes outside for ball 1. Flores 2 for 6 in this series.
I'd like to know how Al on camera 2, he like operates the camera with no hands.
Line toward the middle and a base hit for Flores. So the Mets get the leadoff man on. Here's the thing you need to know about Al's job. Until the ball is hit, he's got nothing to do.
I know. He just kind of points the camera on the field. He's the overhead shot, folks, from our booth. He's right in front of us. So in between pitches, he just centers the camera on the field, the infield, and the outfield, and he can sit there and do anything he wants.
Yeah, there he is.
And he's getting paid for this.
He gets paid a lot of money.
Well, I don't understand.
He's the top of his profession. That's how he earned this easy gig. You know, there are cameramen out there in the sun.
I know.
Stay out in the rain. He's got perfect weather conditions here. Here's Kirk Neuenhuis. Lays down a bunt and a beauty if it stays fair. No chance to throw him out. Well, you can't roll the ball any better than Neuenhuis just bunted it along the third baseline. His first start in 23 days, and he's got himself a bunt single.
Well, it's not even really a drag bunt. It's just that he was playing so far back, Ashy. And you said it, Gary. This is a perfect bunt. And that's really almost like a sacrifice. That is just reminds me when I was a kid watching the Dodger Giants. Boy, could Junior Gilliam and Maury Wills bunt.
So the Mets have the first 2 men on here in the second inning, and the Mets already have 3 hits. They had 5 last night. They had only 4 in their victory on Friday night. Dilson Herrera picked up his first major league hit last night. Bats here with 2 men on, and he's trying to bunt like he was trying to bunt for a hit running up on it.
I like this base hit with the breaking ball, and he watches front shoulder. He stays in. This young man has a future. Very nice. Congratulations.
That's one for the mantelpiece. Herrera 1 for 6 in his brief big league career. 2 on and nobody out. So the hits have been pretty hard to come by for the Mets here at Citi Field. How hard? Well, historically hard. The Mets have gone 10 straight home games without getting more than 6 hits in a game. Only one other major league team has ever done that, and that was the 1980 Oakland A's. So the Mets are the first National League team ever to have 10 straight home games where they get 6 hits or fewer. That's how difficult offense has been for the Mets lately in this ballpark. Herrera chases a bad pitch, and that's the first out of the inning. Second strikeout for Burnett.
If I remember correctly, that A's team, the 80, was managed by Billy Martin. Right. That was the year they had 94 complete games.
And he burned out all those guys. And Matt Keogh and Mike Norris and Brian Kingman. Rick Langford was on that staff.
Did you mention the pitching coach for McCaddy? Was he on the team?
Steve McCaddy.
Yes.
Right. Yep. He was part of that as well.
Usually I'm hanging on your every word, but I was kind of drifting there, Gare. Sorry.
We'll have to reel you back in. Here's Anthony Recker. His first start since 12 days ago in Oakland. The playing time's been minimal for Recker since the All-Star break. In fact, this is only the 8th game he started since the break. Travis d'Arnaud's been going out there every day. And it's been hard for Recker to get hits. As a result, he's just 2 for 27 since the All-Star break.
His playing time has certainly diminished with the resurgence of emergence, I would say. Both work of d'Arnaud.
And Burnett spins a curveball in for a strike. Travis 1 for 8 in the first 2 games of the series. Gets to watch today. He'll be back in the lineup to catch Zach Wheeler tomorrow afternoon in Miami. Let's fly out of here right after the game today and get out early for a day game in Miami tomorrow. Backhanded by Nieves to keep it from going to the backstop. 1-2.
Well, I don't have the series. Ronnie's going to have that series. I have the next 4 days off. I'll pick you guys up in Cincinnati.
Try not to get into trouble between now and then.
Oh no, I'm totally over that. I matured with age.
Like in the last week or two. Well, now that it's the 40th anniversary of your debut, that was yesterday.
Yeah, about my major league debut, yes.
1-2 to Recker. And Anthony lays off the curveball. 2-2. A.J. Burnett, in his 5 starts prior to his last one against Washington, was 0-5 with a 7.52 ERA. And what he said after his start against the Nats on Monday is that he found something with his leg kick that he had discovered on video. He said it looked like a different person, and he went back to that, and all of a sudden he had success. And into Recker in a full count.
The old Brockabrella. Remember that, Gary? Lou started that. Lou patented that. He started that when I was in the mid-70s. The Lou, it was called the Brockabrella.
It's a terrible name.
Well,
I hope it sold well, though. 3-2, the runners go, and Recker fouls it back. So you got a strikeout pitcher on the mound. You got a hitter at the plate who does tend to strike out a lot. And the runners were in motion on 3-2.
And you also now remember, you're not going to get the best of jumps. It's up to the hitter to protect you on 3-2. You do not want to get picked off. It's like a hit and run.
Flores at second base, not fast. Neuenhuis has a little more speed. He's at first. See if they're running again on the next 3-2 pitch. Well, that's what you do when your offense is really strong.
Correct.
You have to be a little more aggressive than you would normally be. This is not a situation where I think earlier in the season Terry would have even thought about sending the runners. And they go again. Recker takes strike 3. Flores is safe at third base. Terrible throw by Nieves.
I'll say
a difficult pickup for Ashe, and the Mets pull off a double steal. Well, he should have been out dead to rights.
Fastball right down the pipe. Now, there's one thing that you can't do, and I don't know what's going on, what was in Anthony's thought process. When you've got a 3-2 count and the runners are running, less than 2 outs, you can't look for a breaking ball. You've got to put that ball in play. And he took a fastball right down the pipe.
Well, especially in this situation, because even with the successful double steal, now you get the pitcher up and 2 out. I mean, the whole point of that play is to be able to put the runners in motion and make something happen. Here, even though the double steal worked and Flores gets his first stolen base, Neuenhuis his second, now you got Dylan G, who's 0 for 26 on the season with 2 out.
Now I'm speculating here. He just made. I mean, I don't understand what 2 strikes. If you're set up, well, number one, if you're caught in between indecision, if you get called out on a fastball with 2 strikes, or he makes a good pitch inside that locks you up. But with the hit and run on, there should be no indecision because you've got to put the ball in play.
By the way, for Flores, that's his first career stolen base. 2-0 to G, and he takes a strike. Dylan is 0 for his last 32 going back to last season, closing in on the all-time Mets mark for futility that was set by Randy Tate back in the 70s. He went 0 for 41. And Burnett gets even 2-2. Juan Lagares would be next. That's got back-to-back hits from Flores and Neuenhuis to start the inning, but strikeouts of Herrera and Recker have given Burnett a chance to get through it. G hits one for Utley to handle, and that retires the side. So a couple of hits, a double steal, but the Mets strand 2 in scoring position. It's at 7:10 p.m. For tickets, visit Mets.com/fireworks. Time for our Infinity This Date in Baseball History. On this date in 1950, Gil Hodges hit 4 home runs in a game. At the time, he was only the 4th player ever to do it.
Was that at Ebbets Field he hit the home runs?
That's an excellent question.
Was that what we're saying? Yes. The truck said yes.
Okay. From the terrace right in front of the Shea Bridge. Nice day to stay cool. Humid afternoon in New York. No score as we go to the 3rd. Cody Ashe will lead things off. Ashe's having a good series. 4 for 7, a double, 2 RBIs in the first 2 games.
Well, he had 3 hits last night.
He's never had a hit against Dylan G. 0 for 7 against him. And Dylan's first pitch misses high for ball 1. A.J. Burnett on deck, and then Ben Revere for the Phillies. Golfed in the air to right, and Neuenhuis is there. This outfield defense that the Mets are playing this afternoon, Dendecker in left, Lagares in center, Neuenhuis in right, might be the best defensive outfield that the Mets can put out.
Agreed. It definitely is.
Now, if Dendecker and Neuenhuis were able to hit enough to play every day, this would be a spectacular defense to look at on an everyday basis.
And very shallow in the outfield. Of course, it's Burnett up, the pitcher, but Lagares very shallow. All of them.
Burnett has 7 hits this year. Curtis Granderson's getting the day off. That's why Neuenhuis is playing right field. And Terry Collins said Curtis needs a day to, quote, clear his head.
It's been tough.
Well, it's certainly not spreading any new news to say that the Mets, if Curtis Granderson and David Wright are going to struggle the way they have, are going to have a hard time winning games. Those are the guys you look to, and since the All-Star break, neither one's been able to produce anything. Burnett goes down looking. 5 strikeouts first time through the batting order for Dylan G. 2 out and nobody on. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Chevrolet, proud sponsor of the New York Mets. Dylan G, who's never had more than 5 strikeouts in a game against the Phillies in his career, and has never had more than 8 strikeouts in a game this season. Already has 5 first time through the batting order. Welcome to day baseball. It seems as though in day games these days, the first 5 or 6 innings belong to the pitchers.
And particularly in the dog days, and second division teams can kind of sleepwalk.
Revere fouls one way. And G has always been a successful daytime starter. In his career, 34 starts in the daytime. He's 17-6 with a 2.99 ERA. Take that for what it is. But you figure that, day games after night games, the freshest guy on the field should be the starting pitcher.
Yes, he's had once every 5th day.
One-two to Revere. Just missed. 2-2. Revere's been the toughest man to strike out in the National League this year. He strike out every 12 plate appearances. Doesn't walk much, doesn't strike out much. But he has it for a good batting average. Came into the day hitting .307, 3rd in the league. 2-2. And that just missed outside. Full count. The very voluble Ron Kulpa calling the balls and strikes.
And it missed. Good call.
And Ron tells you where it misses. That's helpful. 3-2. Pulls the changeup foul.
Oh, the good Lord used to do that too, Doug Harvey. He'd look and ask him when he would point his index finger and his thumb up in a U shape. If it was 3 inches, he would be a little wider. If it was by an inch. Outside by an inch.
He'd say outside by an inch?
Doug Harvey would. Oh, yes.
Wow.
Doug Harvey was an excellent umpire. One of the best.
That's why they called him the Lord. Flores with the overhand throw gets Revere. G has himself a 1-2-3 inning. Middle of the 3rd at Citi Field. Mets and Phils, no score.
Big Ed, what a nice man.
And Cranepool, who had more hits at Shea Stadium than anybody. A record he'll have forever.
Oh.
SNY's Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Lagares, Dendecker, and Wright, top 3 in the batting order against A.J. Burnett. Mets got the first 2 men on in the 2nd but couldn't score. Lagares took a call 3rd strike his first time up. And takes a curveball for a strike. 0-1. There was so much conversation about Henry Mejia's admission that he was pitching with a hernia. It's worth noting that A.J. Burnett has pitched this entire season with a hernia.
And I really think they go hand in hand with all the oblique injuries. I mean, there's maybe too many core exercises. I don't know.
Well, there's certainly more frequently sustained problems in this day and age in baseball.
Yep. Ooh, wicked curve right there.
I mean, it used to be that baseball injuries were about hamstrings and sore shoulders and elbows. You hear a lot about obliques and intercostals and hernias. 2-2 coming, and Lagares wastes that one foul.
It's important to note, folks, for you that are watching, I said wicked curve, just kind of reacted there, kind of knee-jerk reaction when it was shown on real time. Then we show it in slow motion and it looks lazy. It only looks lazy because it's in slow motion.
On the inside corner, he backed that one up against Lagares, and he's caught looking for the 2nd time.
I thought it could have curved around the plate. And this is not intentional. I thought it was inside. Let's see if it bends around the plate. I think he might have caught it.
Close enough. Backup curveball from Burnett.
Yep.
And that'll draw a conversation from Davis. So 1 out and nobody on. Now Matt Dendecker, who grounded out to short his first time up. A.J. Burnett, who was drafted by the Mets in 1995. 8th round pick.
Is he part of the lighter deal?
He was. He was in the Mets farm system for 4 years. And right on the cusp of making it to the big leagues, he was traded in the deal that brought Al Leiter to the Mets, 1998.
That was Al had some terrific years here. I remember the big game he pitched against the Reds.
It was the 1-game wild card playoff in 1999 after the Mets and Reds finished tied for the wild card.
He pitched to towed the slab and twirled a gem
for a shutout in Cincinnati. Just inside. 1-2 to Dendecker.
I'm not used to having this kind of muggy weather. It's been so mild this summer.
I love this.
I know you do.
Dendecker down on the curveball. AJ's got a good one today. He struck out 4 of the last 5 batters now. 2 out and nobody on.
So we'll look at the curveball here real time. You can see the bite. And then in slow motion, look how lazy it looks. Oh, come on. Anybody can hit that, right?
So David Rattlebat with 2 out and nobody on. David singled up the middle his first time up. And a fastball strike. Well, he began his career in the Mets minor league system, then made his major league debut for the Marlins, where he pitched a no-hitter. Blue Jays, Yankees, Pirates, and now Phillies. Fly ball out to right, easy for Sizemore. And Burnett has himself his first 1-2-3 inning of the afternoon. They are, but they're very tasty.
Well,
tahini sauce on top.
Why do you think fried food has survived over the years? Everything's delicious when it's fried.
Like French fried Oreos.
Fish and chips.
Jimmy Rollins takes a strike. Fish and chips is only good if you have it wrapped in newspaper.
Yes,
like in London.
And a light batter.
1-1 to Rollins, who popped up his first time up. Rollins, Utley, and Howard, the 3 mainstays for the Phillies, who are playing their 906th game together today. The Phillies last night passed a milestone that I don't know if they consider this a good thing or a bad thing, but it certainly is emblematic of the team that they have. The Phillies last night became the 2nd team since 1901 to have 4 players 34 or older put together 550 plate appearances in the same season. The only other team that had 4 older players with that many plate appearances were the 2008 Yankees. Great diving stop by Duda. He finds it, but not in time. Well, Duda saved the double by making the diving grab, but couldn't locate it quickly enough to get Rollins, who has an infield hit.
Nice play down the line. Oh, he just didn't cleanly pick it. And nice hustle. Rollins smelled that hit. And he just did get there.
Rollins' 14th career hit against Dylan G. And that was very close.
Yes. He got it, though.
I don't know, did he?
I think so.
Maybe not.
I think so.
Well, the Mets are not going to challenge. So now Chase Utley bats with a runner aboard.
I think he beat it, Gare. Just did beat it.
Here's Utley, who struck out his first time up. Anyway, so the 4 Phillies 34 or older: Rollins, Utley, Howard, and Bird. I don't know. That's awfully close.
I think he's safe.
That 2008 Yankee team, they had Jeter, Giambi, Johnny Damon, and Bobby Abreu. They're 4 players who were 34 or older with 550 plate appearances. But in modern baseball history, those are the only 2 times that that's happened. And we've talked a lot over this season about the Phillies and their aging players, and that's just another manifestation of it. Utley 3 for 10 in this series. Rollins getting a pretty healthy lead. Stole a base last night. He has 28 for the year.
There's got to be such a familiarity between these 2 guys, Rollins and Utley, both, I think, defensively and offensively. You think in terms, okay, they played shortstop and second base. They were the keystone of this Philly team for so long. They're so familiar with themselves, with turning double plays. But Rollins has always hit second. Utley's always hit third. They're very familiar with each other in the line of the order too.
And how does that help? How does that?
Well, if I
play and Rollins just gets back.
Do they have signs together? Does Rollins say, "Hey, go at this particular time and know each other so well? I'm not feeling I'm a little bit sore today. I'm not going to run. Go ahead and swing the bat."
He's running this time. Herrera leaves it behind, recovers in time to get Utley. Well, Herrera was going to have no chance on Rollins at second, but he was hurrying it, hoping that he would, and got fortunate that he was able to get 1 out.
I'm not so sure. Let's take another look at that. He may have had a shot. Let's see. This ball's hit hard. You know what? It would have had to have been a real hard backhand shovel pass, but nice recovery nonetheless.
So Rollins now at second with 1 out. Howard comes up, and the Mets will put on the full shift against him.
You had every intention of trying, and I don't think he would have had a shot, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Flores was telling him to go to first all along. So here's Howard, and he hits a rocket down the right field line. That's a base hit, and that'll bring in Rollins with the game's first run. Neuenhuiser's throw to second base. He has a chance for him, but Howard gets in safely with a double. He drives in his 85th run of the year, and the Phillies lead 1-0.
Well, he drove in 3 last night. 2-run single last night and a sac fly, and here he likes that ball down over the middle. Mistake by G. And it's very painful to watch him run, is it not? He just barely gets there. Oh, terrible slide. What is with the slide? Is he afraid of his foot hitting the bag here because of the injury?
Well,
that's just a bad slide.
I mean, he never was fleet, but after the Achilles injury that came at the end of the 2011 season, certainly has a lot of difficulty getting around.
I mean, if you're going to worry about your feet, then slide head first, because this is awful. Goodness.
Grady Sizemore struck out his first time up. Well, Howard with an RBI double, but the way he has hit Dylan G, Dylan might just be breathing a sigh of relief. Didn't hit it on the ballpark. Howard is now 10 for 25 against G with 6 home runs. And now Dylan falls behind on Sizemore 3-0 with Dominic Brown waiting on deck. And there's ball 4. First walk given up by G. And now there are 2 on for Brown. And Dan Warthen will take a visit to the mound. Well, we talked about how the Mets have struggled, particularly here at Citi Field, and particularly lately. 6 hits or fewer in 10 straight home games. If you're a pitcher, you got to feel as though every run that you give up is enough to beat you.
Well, I'm sure that Kuzman and Gentry and Seaver can speak to that. Everything goes hand in hand. Sometimes you're in a season where it can reverse, ebbs and flows of a season where the offense can feel, hey, we can't score enough runs, our pitchers can't hold. So this particular team this year, the onus has been on the pitcher to go out there every day, and I know they've got to feel, I got to be on my A game.
And it's, you know, it's not just the Mets. I mean, scoring is down across baseball. The Mets are 11th of 15 National League teams in runs scored. So there are plenty of other teams in the same boat. I think for a large portion of the season, the Phillies have felt the same way. Brown dumps one into shallow left. Dendecker will have to play it on the hop. Howard had to hold up. He'll go to third and stop there. And now the bases are loaded. And Dominic Brown is 2 for 2.
Well, a little duck right here. Wounded duck. Off the end of the bat.
So the base is loaded and 1 out. A run home for the Phillies here in the 4th. And now Will Nieves, who struck out his first time up. Nieves, a lifetime 246 hitter. Backup catcher, has a chance to do some damage here. Howard at third, Sizemore at second, Brown at first, and 1 out. And considering the arms in the outfield, it would take a pretty good fly ball to get Ryan Howard home from third.
Yes. That would be a case here where your back runners would go to and try to force a cutoff, Gare. You know, force the throw, get a run, sacrifice. Depending on the depth of the fly ball. Obviously, you wouldn't do it if he hit it is where Dendecker's playing right now. And if he hit it where Lagares or Neuenhuis is, where they're positioned in the outfield, it's going to be a close play. All 3 with good arms out there.
Meanwhile, G has fallen behind on Nieves 2-0. So Dillon in a crucial situation early in this game with a run already home here in the inning. Behind on Nieves 2-0. Double play ball. Flores with the flip. Herrera with the turn, hangs in and turns the 6-4-3 double play. So G gets it.
And fearless and a strong arm. So his first chance here to show his goods at second base. I see nothing wrong with that. Nicely done.
I like the way he gave with the left leg as Brown came in at him. So the Mets turn 2 for G to get him out of a bases loaded jam with just the 1 run. Now Lucas Duda leads off in the home 4th inning against A.J. Burnett and takes a curveball for a strike.
Good one to take right there. It's a wicked down and in.
Burnett has struck out 5 over the first 3 innings after striking out 12 against the Nationals in his last start. Duda grounded out to second base his first time up and takes a fastball inside 1-1. Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Duda comes into the day tied for 3rd in the National League in home runs. Mets will see Stanton tomorrow in Miami. He's having an MVP type season. Nubbed. The third baseman Ashe hurries in and throws out Duda 1 away. Right off the end of the bat. And Ashe alone on that left side of the infield makes the play. Stanton is up to 98 RBIs now. Now the Marlins are 2 games under 500. They still fancy themselves in the wild card race. They're 5.5 out going into play today. But the question is, if the Marlins don't get to the postseason, which is more than likely, will Stanton lose MVP votes as a result? And the question is, if he's not the MVP and people are reluctant to vote for Kershaw because he's a pitcher,
right,
then who is the MVP?
Oh, remember 86? Mike Schmidt won the MVP. And that was their Strawberry and myself kind of split the ballot there, and Carter.
And then 88, Kirk Gibson won.
Right.
It was more splitting.
Right. It was McReynolds and Straw. I do feel that in 86, if Gary Carter did not get hurt, he would have been the hands down MVP. He drove in 100 runs that year and missed a significant part of the season. He would have had 115 RBI a year. And that's, of course, when Ed Hurd came in and filled in so beautifully for Gary when he went down.
So if you're a voter this year and you're looking at the teams that are likely to be in the postseason of the National League, Washington, Milwaukee, Dodgers, Giants, Cardinals, Pirates, who amongst that group is going to get the most votes? Jonathan Lucroy got a lot of attention earlier in the year. His numbers are not quite as high as they were at midseason.
I don't think he's the MVP.
I mean, to me, it's got to be Kershaw or Stanton. I mean, those are the two best players in the league.
My feeling is it's going to be Stanton. It's going to be one of those years where it's someone that's not on a playoff team. I don't think the Marlins are going to get there. And
you are anti-pitchers for MVP.
Yes, I am. It has to be. It has to be a year off, out in orbit somewhere.
And this is not that for Kershaw.
Well, how is he going to win 20?
Well, his ERA is 1.7. He's what, 15-3, and he missed a month. Slowly hit. Tough play for Ashe. Bare hands, can't make the play. And Flores has an infield hit. He's 2 for 2.
I just find it hard.
I think I shorted him. He's 16-3.
Okay, he's got a shot. He went 4 in a row. He's perfectly capable of doing that. I just feel a pitcher, starting pitcher, once every 5th day, it's hard to justify an MVP season. It just really is.
Who's the last starter to win MVP? Verlander, I think.
I think you're right. How about a reliever? Was it Eckersley won MVP? Did he not?
Willie Hernandez.
Willie Hernandez with Detroit, yes.
Here's Neuenhuis, who had a bunt single his first time up. Chops one off his foot, a foul ball. A.J. Burnett's had a great curveball today.
Oh, he's got the spiked finger on the ball. His index finger spiked, which I find very interesting. It's almost like a knuckle curve, which was brought into being by Bert Hooton, if you recall. University of Texas All-American, went right up from Texas to, was it Texas? Or no, or was it the Cubs?
Went to the Cubs, then the Dodgers.
Right.
Utley throws out Neuenhuis as Flores moves up to second. Of course, Mike Messina for years threw a knuckle curve. Jason Isringhausen threw a knuckle curve.
But Bert Hooton was the one, much like Suter was the one that brought in the advent of the split finger.
Right.
Which, to me, the way that developed with Roger Craig when he was manager of the Giants, and all the Giants starting rotation had knuckle curves, split fingers to go with their other arsenal. That was a tough pitching staff.
There's Dilson Herrera with a tying run at second and 2 out. Herrera struck out on 3 pitches his first time up. Looking for his first big league RBI. And takes the curveball for a strike.
The only guy that didn't throw a split finger on that pitching staff was Mike Krukow.
He didn't need one to beat the Mets.
No. Certainly didn't.
And Burnett quickly ahead on Herrera, 0-2. '16-year veteran Burnett, facing the youngest player in the major leagues right now, Dilson Herrera. and he schooled him so far. One and two. Flores at second and 2 out. 1-2 coming. Again, he lays off the curve. 2-2. Anthony Recker would be next. The Phillies a run on 4 hits. The Mets no runs and 4 hits. We're in the 4th. Burnett trying to beat the Mets for the first time this year after getting roughed up 3 straight times against New York. Two, and Herrera hits it right at the shortstop. Rollins handles the hop, throws him out, side retired. A hit and 1 left through 4. Phillies 1. Network featuring a continuous flow of sports news straight from the best New York sports blogs. SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. 5th inning, 1-0 Philadelphia. Cody Ashe will lead off against Dylan G, who yielded a run in the 4th inning but got out of a bases loaded 1-out jam by getting Will Nieves to ground into a double play. Ashe flied out to right his first time up. He takes up and away for ball 1. Burnett on deck, and then Revere for the Phillies in the 5th. Phillies over the last 5 weeks since the 24th of July are 19 and 15. So they have certainly improved their fortunes over the last few weeks. Dendecker puts away Ashe's fly ball for the first out. So 1 out and nobody on. We check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin.
Well, guys, you're talking about Anthony Recker earlier offensively. Clearly, he's not where he wants to be there. No one wants to be under 200, but he hasn't played all that much. But I think one thing you have to give him credit for is that at age 31, he has carved himself out a niche for being a nice defensive catcher and really, pretty good backup catcher. Again, the offense has to get better, and he knows it. But when he came here, the Mets initially saw him and brought him in just as a guy who could hit an occasional home run. Really, he wasn't known particularly for offense or defense. But he said, look, I knew coming in what was going to happen here with the young catchers. Buck was here last year, and I knew I had to get better defensively. So last year I had a bad year throwing guys out, and my biggest goal was to not have the staff skip a beat when I'm in there. That was the #1 thing. So as I started to adjust to this role, my habits and between games changed. My preparation changed. And, not that I don't pay attention to batting practice, but my defensive drills are more important. Here's an easy defensive play for Neuenhuis. And Burnett is retired. He said that's become more important. He said, yeah, I work on my throwing. Of course, I've done that a lot. Footwork, arm angles, arm slots. But even catching bullpens, I don't go out there and just catch them. I receive. I try and get strike calls and make sure that I'm finishing in that way. So that has been the biggest thing. And we've documented his throwing all year. But guys, the numbers are astonishing, the difference. Last year he threw out 20% of the runners. This year 43%. If he qualified, that would be #1 in the league. To give you an idea, last year A.J. Ellis led the league. He was at 44%. Yadier Molina right behind him. So it is a gigantic leap for Recker. He has done a nice job getting better defensively.
And a lot of credit to him for working so hard to make himself a better player.
And another thing too is that when you're the backup catcher and you're playing infrequently, you can devote more time in preparation before games. If you're an everyday catcher, you can't do that. You really got to work on your defensive skills diligently in spring training. No one gets worn out more than a catcher that catches 130, 135, 40 games. You got to save it. You can't be out here at 3 o'clock.
Revere finds the hole, and he's got a 2-out hit.
You can't be out here at 3 o'clock working on your skills. That's got to be done in spring, unless you're really in a slump and you come out and maybe work a couple days. But you've got to save it for the season.
That's Revere's 151st hit of the year, and now he has a chance for that 40th start.
Oh yes, yes. What would that be? The 4th outfielder since for the Philly outfielder since 1907 to have 150 hits and 40 stolen pillows.
Well, you have been right on top of that story throughout this series.
All right.
Diligent reporting.
Jimmy Olsen.
He was just a Cub. Rollins is 1 for 2, and he takes a strike.
Meanwhile, I'm really counting on Recker to back up my report with a caught stealing here. Just so you know, fellas.
And deny Keith that chance to relate history.
I've been waiting the whole series.
I mean, he's got the front page banner headline all ready to go. Perry White's already approved it.
It's only the 5th inning, Keith.
Well, G is hard to run on anyway. He's given up only 3 steals this year in 5 tries. There goes Revere. Recker has his chance. High throw. And Revere has his 40th steal. Lagares will try and throw him out at third, and it hits the runner. The ball bounds against the fence, and Revere will stay put at third base. Well, it was a strong throw by Recker, but a high one.
And it really double ruins Kevin's report. Talking about his throwing, and he's at E2 on the advance to third. Revere now joins what? Von Hayes, Milt Thompson. Help me out here. Milt Thompson, Von Hayes. We're rolling. Hang in there. You feel like Mendy Rudolph. Bobby Abreu. There you go. We got it. Headline news.
And good footwork by Recker. He just sailed the throws to a runner at third with 2 out. A 2-strike count on Rollins. Well, congratulations to Ben Revere. That's a great accomplishment.
Sure.
And the curveball gets Rollins to end the inning. So G again strands a runner at third. 6 strikeouts for Dylan G. Most he's ever had in a game against the Phillies, but halfway through he's down 1-0. Throw out the first pitch at a Mets game. Purchase any size hot coffee with your Perks Enrolled Dunkin' Donuts card for the chance to win. No purchase necessary. Hurry as the contest ends today. Enter now at firstcupfirstpitch.com. Home 5th inning. Anthony Recker leads off against A.J. Burnett. He's allowed only 3 hits. 2 of the 3, well, actually 4 hits. 2 of the 4 infield hits. And Recker takes a strike. Recker went down looking his first time up. G and Lagares to follow. Today is a very important day on the baseball calendar because it's the last day that a contending team can acquire a player in a waiver deal and have that player be eligible for postseason. Certainly Burnett's name has come up. Bartolo Colon's name has come up as players who could possibly be traded before midnight tonight. In both players' cases, their deals for next year might be impediments. You know about Colon being signed for next year. Burnett has a mutual option for next year. There have been some deals made today, and the one of greatest note is Oakland. Remember, they traded Yoenis Cespedes at the non-waiver trading deadline, and their offense has struggled as a result. In fact, they've gotten shut out the last 2 nights by the Angels. Well, they pick up Adam Dunn from the White Sox to try and give them a big batted DH in the middle of their batting.
And hoping to catch lightning in a bottle.
Well, the Angels have won the first 3 games of that series from the A's to open up their largest lead of the season. Last night, the Angels had 8 pitchers combined on a 3-hit shutout. They used Corey Rasmus as the starter. His first big league start. He went 3 innings, and they just used the whole bullpen. And that was a huge win. Recker went around in the half swing. The home plate umpire Ron Colton calling it himself. And Burnett has his 6th strikeout. So Dunn goes to the A's. His contract ends after this year. Dunn, by the way, has had more games than any active player without ever appearing in a postseason game. So he finally might get that opportunity. The other big deal today is that the Brewers, looking for bullpen help, picked up Jonathan Broxton from the Reds as a check swing roller by G. And Burnett off the mound to play it for the second out. Now, in that case, Broxton has a contract for next year at $9 million, which is an awful lot for a pitcher who's been struggling a little bit lately. But the Brewers feel as though they need that help in the bullpen in front of Frankie Rodriguez.
Well, it just shows the Brewers want to be for real this year. And there you have the Central, and the Cardinals are breathing right there. And I tell you what, they let the Pirates back in. Gary, you mentioned that earlier.
Well, the fact to me that the Cardinals were able to keep their heads above water with Molina out, I think they went 21-19 while he was out. That's a great sign for them. And Wainwright's struggling right now, and still they're only a game out of first place.
I still like the Pirates. Don't ask me why.
Yeah, well, you know, who's had an unbelievable year for the Pirates, and they've needed him, is Josh Harrison, who has come out of nowhere to plug a huge hole for them. He's playing third base every day now with Alvarez having been moved off that spot, and he's slugging over 500. 1-1 to Lagares. The Orioles made a couple of minor pickups yesterday. They got Alejandro De Aza from the White Sox, outfielder, and they got Kelly Johnson from the Red Sox, which, as Lagares finds the hole, and he's got a 2-out hit. So the Mets have their 5th hit against Burnett. Kelly Johnson, by the way, now completes his tour of the AL East. The Orioles were the only team in that division he had not played for.
Nice hitting by Juan.
So Lagares has his second hit in 10 at bats in this series, tying run at first and 2 out, and Matt Dendecker coming up. The Orioles, by the way, have the largest lead of any division leader. They're 8 games up on the Yankees starting play today. Curveball in for a strike to Dendecker. Now, on the top of the inning, Ben Revere had a 2-out single, the Phillies leadoff hitter, and you immediately thought about the stolen base threat. Not so much with Lagares.
No, Juan's not there yet, and I think there's no reason why Juan can't steal 15 bags a year.
There he goes. And mishandled by Nieves, and sure enough, Lagares has a stolen base. So there's a spot where you really wanted him to steal, and he did.
Not a big lead. I'd like to see him get a bigger lead, but sometimes you kind of induce the pitcher into falling asleep with a short lead.
So 6 stolen bases for Lagares, tying run in scoring position with 2 out. 1-1 to Dendecker, who's 0 for 2 today. And Matt pulls one, fair ball down the line, and that'll tie the game. Lagares in to score. Dendecker heads to second. He has an RBI double, and the Mets tie the game at 1.
Stolen base, because this double right here wouldn't have scored Juan from first because it kicked out off the wall off that angle. So these are the young guys, and I like this young man's swing.
Dendecker had been just 1 for 17 with runners in scoring position before that base hit. So the Mets get even, and now Dendecker in scoring position with 2 out for David Wright. So Lagares, the 2-out hit, steals the base, and as a consequence is able to score the tying run. Wright is 1 for 2, single to center, fly to right. Well, the Mets now have 6 hits. They have not had more than 6 hits in any of their last 10 home games. If they can get one here, they might have a lead. Dendecker's 5th double, his 4th RBI of the year in 93 at bats. And Wright lays off, ball 1. Lucas Duda would be next. Line drive, base hit. David Wright with an RBI single. 2-1 New York.
Nice little 2-out rally here by the Metsies, and it's going to make David feel good. Right down the pipe fastball.
And David hit that ball with authority. That's nice to see. Just his 9th run batted in since the All-Star break. He's got a 2-hit game. And the Mets have the lead.
And with 2 outs with Dendecker's speed, you can forget it. So a nice inning the Mets put together here.
3 straight 2-out hits. Lagares, Dendecker, and Wright at the top of the batting order. 2-1 New York, and now Lucas Duda, who's been up twice and grounded out both times. Full shift on against Lucas. And he hits it to center field. Revere back, and he's got plenty of room to make the catch. And that retires the side. 3 straight 2-out hits produced 2 runs. Dendecker and Wright with the RBIs. 2-1 New York after 5. 2-1 New York as we start the 6th. Part of the Phillies batting order. Utley, Howard, and Sizemore up against Dylan G, who has the lead for the first time today. Utley's 0 for 2, and he takes a changeup for a strike. Well, David Wright had gone a career high 14 games without driving in a run before banging that single past Rollins and giving the Mets the lead. Utley cracks one to right, but Neuenhuis is right there to grab it. 1 hard out. Let's check in with the studio. Steve Gelbs is standing by for a game break brought to you by your local Tri-Honda dealers. It's funny, we were just talking about Josh Harrison. Francisco Liriano pitching that game for the Pirates, so we're going for their 5th straight win. That's Keith's pick to click right there.
Yeah, it is.
Your Buccos. Here's Ryan Howard, who drove in the first run of this game with a double in the 4th. And he takes the curveball high for ball 1. Grady Sizemore waiting on deck. Dylan G's allowed a run on 5 hits. And another curveball. This one fouled. 1-1. Staying cool on a humid afternoon. It's a family affair.
Ooh, sliding the family stone.
One shot. Well, that would knock the mask right off Recker's head.
Well, G backing up 2 back. Oh, gosh. Wake up call. Look at the impact here. Oh.
You wonder why catchers talk to themselves. 1-2 from G.
Or wandered the streets late at night.
There was a brief idea floated the other day. Terry Collins just idly was talking to a reporter about the idea, the notion, as Howard hits one deep to right, headed toward the corner. That ball is out of here, and the Phillies have tied up the game. Well, Ryan Howard owns Dylan G. An RBI double in the 4th, and now his 20th home run of the year. 8th time in his career that Howard's hit 20 home runs in a season. First time since 2011. But that's his 7th in 26 career at-bats against G. And this one ties up the game at 2.
Hanging curve. Stayed up. Didn't get on top enough. Stayed kind of flat. Well, he's right on it. And he actually got on top of it. That was a humpback line drive. So Howard has driven in. You can see the numbers right there off the charts.
At some point, you just want to roll the ball in.
Or throw it down the middle.
Maybe. Well, Those 7 that G has given up, 7 of the 41 that Howard has now hit against the Mets. Willie Stargell has the all-time record with 60. And Howard leads all active players with 41. Sizemore checks his swing, and that misses, and now G's behind 3-1. He walked Sizemore on 4 pitches his last time up, the only walk Dillon's given up today. That came after Howard's RBI double in the 4th. This time Sizemore batting after Howard's home run, and he walks again. So the only 2 walks G has allowed have been to Grady Sizemore, and now the go-ahead run aboard with 1 out. And Dominic Brown coming up. Brown is already 2 for 2 in this game. He hit a bullet off the wall in right center for a double in the 2nd, and then he floated one down the left field line for a single in the 4th. So G's now given up 2 runs, 6 hits, walked 2, struck out 6. And in this tie game, Sizemore on first with 1 out. And the curveball to Brown in for a strike. Where the Reds just tied up that game in Pittsburgh on a Chris Heisey home run, 2-2 in the 5th. Well, Nieves waits on deck. Pulled down to first, past a diving Duda. A base hit for Brown. Sizemore trying to go first to third. Neuenhuis's throw is cut off, and the Phillies have the go-ahead run at third with 1 out. And Dominic Brown is 3 for 3.
Curve, kind of a roller on the outside corner, not really a sharp curve. And Sizemore runs well, still never hesitates. Just out of the reach of Lucas.
Dan Worthen out at the mound for a conversation. G was in a similar tough spot in the 4th inning with the bases loaded and 1 out, and he got Nieves to grind into a double play. He could use another one of those. Buddy Carlisle, Dana Evelyn quickly to work in the Mets bullpen. G at 85 pitches. He threw 101 in 6 2/3 against the Braves in his victory on Tuesday. But having himself a rough time of it here in the 6th. Even the out he recorded to start the 6th against Utley was hard hit. And Howard hit the home run. Sizemore walked, and now Brown with a base hit. So 1st and 3rd and 1 out in a tie game. Nieves got ahead in the count 2-0 and then grounded into a 6-4-3 double play to end the 4th. 0 for 2 on the day. And takes a curveball for a strike. Sizemore at 3rd, Brown at 1st, and 1 out. Brown has 5 steals if you're thinking about that. Cody Ashe, the number 8 hitter, left-hand hitter on deck. Fouled up the plate. And quickly 0-2. Fly ball foul. That'll go out of play.
See where the Cubs have jumped all over St. Louis early.
Scored 5 runs in the 2nd inning. Luis Valbuena with a home run.
I still think the Cardinals are in trouble. I mean, they're hanging in there, but
well, that's Lackey today, and he's been up and down since he joined St. Louis. Again, the 0-2, and Nieves down on strikes. Got him with a changeup. Strikeout number 7 for Dylan G. And now there are 2 out of the inning.
Well, the inability we see so much today of hitters not able to get a sacrifice fly. The runner in third base, less than 2 outs. Just epidemic.
So now 2 out, and it's left to Ashe, who's flied out in both of his at-bats today after a 3-hit game last night. You got the pitcher Burnett on deck with Sizemore at third and Brown at first, so he can afford to be careful in this spot. There's nobody up in the Phillies bullpen, so they're not even contemplating a pinch hitter. Recker steps out in front of the plate, gives signals to the infield on what to do if Brown takes off from first. Of course, the Mets pulled a delayed double steal against the Phillies 2 nights ago, so everybody's conscious of that. And Ashe takes a curveball for a strike. Ashe's never had a hit against G. He's 0 for 9 against him. And Dylan trying to work his way out of another tough spot, as he did in the 4th when he gave up a run and avoided further trouble. Trying to do the same here in the 6th after Howard's home run. And Ashe lifts one to right center. Long run back for Neuenhuis deep in the gap with Lagares, and Lagares out of nowhere makes the catch. Looked like Neuenhuis might be able to get closer to it, but Lagares closing ground and saves 1 run and maybe 2 by getting there. Where extra base hits go to die, that man's glove. Lagares keeps it tied at 2.
Lagares obviously covering a heck of a lot more. That's a fly ball, okay? It's a route. That's a fly ball, but Lagares playing over the opposite field. I mean, once he gets there, he's a professional. It's the big leagues. You make the catch. It's all about the jump and his speed to get to the ball, which is what we see so much of every day.
Wilmer Flores leads off the home 6th, and you hate to take that stuff for granted, because you watch with the naked eye, and Kirk Neuenhuis is a good outfielder and he's got some decent speed, but watching the 2 of them converge on that ball, it looked like Lagares was moving twice as fast, and Neuenhuis was going all out. Flores finds the hole, and he's got his 3rd hit of the game. So Wilmer Flores is 3 for 3, and the Mets have the lead man on to start the bottom of the 6th.
Hit number 8 for the Mets.
So for the first time in their last 11 home games, they've had more than 6 hits.
Hits the breaking ball.
Flores went up the middle in the 2nd, had an infield hit in the 4th, and now grounds one through the hole to left. So he is now 5 for 9 in this series. Here's Neuenhuis, who had a bunt hit after a Flores base hit in the 2nd. Takes a curveball for a strike from Burnett. Dilson Herrera waiting on deck. One and one to Neuenhuis. Way inside, 2-1. Well, A.J. Burnett's had a rough year. Pitched a gem his last start against the Nationals. Trying to back that up today. He had a 1-0 lead. Mets got 2 in the 5th with 3 straight 2-out hits to take the lead, but Ryan Howard's home run tied it up in the top of this inning. And now he's behind on Neuenhuis, 3-1. Flores picked up his first major league stolen base in the 2nd inning. 3-2, nobody out. Flores is running, and Neuenhuis grounds one to Utley, and he'll have to go to first with it. So by putting Flores in motion, the Mets stay out of the double play, and they've got the lead run in scoring position with one out. So Flores now in scoring position, and Dilson Herrera coming up. Herrera 0 for 2 today in his third big league game. Struck out and grounded out. Today's Twisted but True Fact brought to you by Twisted Tea, the hard iced tea that tastes like real iced tea. 1994.
That's the fact.
It's 20 years ago.
It's late.
That means he's 20.
We're almost September.
So you made your major league debut 40 years ago, and he was born 20 years ago.
That's right. How about that? That is twisted.
Either that or we're just old. Flores at second and one out. 2-2 game in the sixth. One-0 from Burnett, and Herrera takes up and in. 2-0.
Herrera has a decent eye at the plate too. We've seen so far. He has an idea up there. Very little compact little physique on him. He's strong.
And the 2-0 curveball misses, and now it's 3-0 with Recker on deck. Well, those are his minor league numbers, and even better this year when he hit a combined .323 at St. Lucie and Binghamton with 13 home runs. And he walks on 4 pitches, and the Mets have 2 men on. First walk given up by Burnett, who came into the day leading the National League in walks allowed. Walked only 1 in his last start against Washington, so something has changed. Antonio Bastardo, first man up in the Phillies bullpen, as the Phillies pitching coach Bob McClure will go to the mound. McClure in his first year as Phillies pitching coach.
He was pitching coach with Bobby Valentine at the Red Boston the one year that Bobby managed the Red Sox 2 seasons ago.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Citi. Citi cards can get you in on the action and closer to the game with access to special benefits at Citi Field this season. Visit Mets.com/Citi to learn more. By Lexus, introducing a car designed with one purpose: to stand apart. The 2014 Lexus IS. It's your move. And by Bob's Discount Furniture, proud to be the furniture store of the New York Mets. Anthony Recker bats with 2 men on. Recker's been up twice, struck out both times, looking in the second, swinging in the fifth. Curtis Granderson has come out on deck to bat for Dylan G. Flores at second, Herrera at first, and 1 out. And Recker hits one deep to left field. Back goes Brown, looking up, and it's out of here! Anthony Recker with a 3-run homer, and the Mets lead 5-2. Well, he hadn't started a game in 12 days. But Recker puts a hurt on one for his 5th home run of the year and gives the Mets the lead.
Breaking ball, hanging. Recker, we know, is very strong, and that could be the big game breaker right there. A close game like this is, one pitch makes a difference.
Yeah, that'll keep G in the game as well. Granderson had been out on deck to bat for him, but now with the 3-run lead, G will stay on. He's at 90 pitches for the day, so he should have another inning in him. Dillon is 0 for 2 today, grounded out twice. Well, Anthony Recker had just 2 hits since the All-Star break. Now he's got 3, and 2 of the 3 are home runs.
He had struck out the first 2 previous at bats, so that's payback.
Well, that is 4 starts for Burnett against the Mets this year, and he's given up 5 runs or more in all 4. Then they got off to a good start for Burnett. He held the Mets scoreless for the first 4 innings. But now the last 8 batters, he's given up 5 hits and a walk and 5 runs. And G goes down on strikes. Strikeout number 7 for Burnett, and there are 2 out in the inning. So now it's Lagares. Lagares with the Mets trailing 1-0, and at bat with 2 out of the 5th inning. It would look like an innocuous single into right field, but then he stole second, scored the tying run on Dendecker's double, and the Mets have not stopped against Burnett ever since. Lagares 1 for 3 on the day, 2 for 10 in this series. He shoots 1 foul, 1-1. Now Dendecker would be next. Mets 5, Phillies 2, 6th inning. Burnett about to throw his 100th pitch of the day. And Lagares chases one in the dirt. Nieves makes the toss. Side retired, but not before Anthony Recker puts the Mets in front. Recker's 5th home run of the year. First pitch curveball, 3-run homer. And 2-2 tie turns into a 5-2 Met lead with 1. Tomorrow afternoon, Zach Wheeler at the scene of his best start of the year against Henderson Alvarez. John Neese against Brett Penny on Tuesday night, and Jacob deGrom faces New York native Tom Kohler on Wednesday night. Freddie Galvis, the pinch hitter, batting for A.J. Burnett. Let's check in with Kevin.
Well, earlier you're talking about Giancarlo Stanton, about a possible MVP, which certainly looks like he's on his way there. But with all the chatter about him, no one talks about the rest of the Marlins outfield. And if you were playing fantasy and you're a GM, you're taking that outfield. Why? Stanton's the oldest guy out there at 24. Christian Yelich, left fielder, is 22. Ozuna, Marcell Ozuna, that is 23. And they're both having terrific seasons. Ozuna himself leads the National League with 34 RBIs from the 7th inning on. So he's had some big RBIs. And if you combine Yelich's production and Ozuna, it's been really pretty good. Yelich has led off. He scored 76 runs as G. Last thing he wanted to do is issue a leadoff walk to the late hitting Freddie Galvis and leadoff runner on for the Phillies. But just to finish the thought, those two combined, Gary and Keith, 46 doubles, 28 home runs, 119 RBIs, and 140 runs scored. That is impressive stuff from the guys not named Stanton in that outfield. We'll see them tomorrow.
Yeah, Yelich 371 on base percentage in that leadoff spot. That is an outfield with a lot of room to do some star power over the next few years. Dylan G's day is done. He leaves with a 5-2 lead. Danny Evelyn will come in for the Mets. The call to the bullpen for Phillies batting order.
Well, the first time Evelyn's thrown again in this series.
Then Revere, first man he'll face. Revere 1 for 3. Singleton stole his 40th base of the year in the 5th inning. And he takes ball 1. Josh Edgin has not pitched in a game in 8 days. So Evelyn's been getting most of the left-handed work. And he gets the strike call to Revere, 1-1. Revere rather incredulous about that call by Ron Kulpa. Wright playing it on the grass at third against the bunt threat from Revere. Phillies down 5-2 as they bat in the 7th. And Evelyn comes inside, 2-1. G went 6 innings plus, allowed 7 hits, just the 2 runs so far, walked 3, struck out 7. So after losing 5 straight decisions after the All-Star break, G has a chance to get back to 500 for the year. And Evelyn really struggling with that slider. Now it's 3-1. Jimmy Rollins waiting on deck. You got Utley and Howard behind him. It's been the case for years. If you're a left-handed reliever and you're facing the Phillies, it's going to be work for you against this lineup. Check swing, call strike, 3-2.
Well, good fastball down the way.
Galvis at first and nobody out. 3-2 to Revere, who rarely strikes out. Galvis not running, and Revere lines one the other way. On comes Dendecker, but he'll have to play it on a hop. And so the Phillies have the first 2 men on in the 7th. Revere's second hit of the day. And now the tying run will come to bat.
Fastball away, goes with it. That's what you got to do. You're a table setter.
So Dan Warthen back out to the mound, this time to talk to Evelyn, and Jay Reese Familia will get to work. You have to assume that the Mets do not have Edgin available. We haven't seen him in 8 days. I know he's had some physical issues he's been dealing with. And the fact that he is not up and Familia is makes it pretty apparent that Edgin is not available. You got Utley, Howard, and Sizemore, and then Brown, 4 left-hand hitters in a row up after Rollins. Rollins 1 for 3 today. He greeted Evelyn with a double last night, but Evelyn was able to work around that in the 7th inning. Record looks into the dugout. Wants some guidance on how they're going to handle the running game here. You got fast runners at second in Galvis and at first in Revere.
Well, what are you going to do? They're not going to run. Not with down 3 runs. Focus on the hitter.
Rollins 1 for 3 today. Duda knocked the ball down and it went for an infield hit in the 4th. And a call strike with a fastball, 0-1. Chase Utley waiting on deck. Phillies were up 1-0. Mets led 2-1. Phillies tied it on Howard's home run in the 6th, but then Recker's 3-run homer put the Mets back in front in the bottom of the 6th. Now the Phillies threatening again. In the dirt, Recker knocks it down. No advance.
Nice play by Recker. Good anticipation.
One and one to Rollins, who's hit 3 of his 17 home runs this year as a right-hand batter. Evelyn really sitting on the brakes. 1-1. Hit hard, base hit. Galvis to third. He's being waved home. Dendecker's throw to the plate on a hop. Recker loses the ball, and the runners will move to second and third. Now the Mets had a shot at Galvis at the plate, but the ball spun out of Recker's glove, and that's huge because that gets the tying runs into scoring position.
Beautiful throw by Dendecker. Sinker down and away, ripped. Good charge by Dendecker. Nice one hop, and it was going to be close. Can't block the plate. He would have been safe, I think. Garrett, he would have been around the plate.
It's an RBI single for Rollins, and then the error on Recker for dropping the ball allows the runners to move to second and third. So now a base hit could tie the game. Nobody out in the inning. The infield will stay back with a 2-run lead as Utley steps in. Utley is 0 for 3 today. So Evelyn's come in and given up 2 straight hits to Revere and Rollins. By the way, for Rollins, 2 hits in the game gives him 2,300 for his major league career, and he now has tied another Phillies club record, 657 multi-hit games. That ties him for Richie Ashburn for the most multi-hit games in Phillies history. Breaking ball fouled off, and it's 1-1 to Utley. So after Recker's 3-run homer gave the Mets the lead, the Phillies fighting right back. Each team now with 9 hits. Utley at the plate, Howard on deck. And a breaking ball popped up. And Flores there to put it away for the first out of the inning.
Wow, I've never seen Utley take a swing like that.
So 1 out. Let's see how the Mets handle this. You've got Howard at the plate, who's driven in 2 runs with a double and a home run. First base is open. Grady Sizemore on deck. And we'll see if the Mets opt to pitch to Howard or put him on.
Lefty, lefty, go after him.
Well, you got another lefty on deck.
Go after him. The strikeout guy too. You don't want to put another runner on base here. If he hits a ground ball or sac fly, you still got to lead by a run. And then you got another left-hander coming up. You don't want to push through just where you're relying on a double play. Then you got to face a right-hander, make a pitching change. The lefty's out there to get. That's his job, to get left-handers out.
Howard is 3 for 7 against Evelyn with a home run, and he leaves the slider up and away for ball 1. This inning began with a 4-pitch walk by Dylan G to Freddie Galvis, who was hitting under 100. Base hits by Revere and Rollins to bring in a run. Ball and a strike to Howard. Here's that hit by Rollins again.
Enright was back. Normal depth. The ball just kind of tailed away from Recker.
One to Howard, and he fouls that one back. 1-2. Howard with 2 RBIs today, 86 for the year. That's 4th in the National League, and he's got 2 of them out there now. Evelyn ahead in the count, 1-2. Slider, still 1-2. Grady Sizemore waiting on deck. The winner of this game heads into September in 4th place.
Yes.
The loser of this game heads into September in last place. The Phillies have been in last place every day since June 28th. 1-2. Fouled away.
Oh boy, that was a hanger right there. Oh my word.
Evelyn with the look of a guy who knows he just got away with one. Revere at third, Rollins at second, and 1 out. 1-2 to Howard. Fouls off another breaking ball. Howard's fouled off 3 in a row after Evelyn got ahead of the count. Again, the 1-2. Slider on the inside corner. He got him. Generous call from Ron Kolpa. Howard goes away unhappy. Big second out for Danny Evelyn.
Well, backup slider meant to be in the outside corner. Look at Recker set up way outside. Look at the pitch. It bends around. Did it get the inside corner? Oh, plenty of play. What's he moaning about? Please go grab some pine. That's a strike.
Yeah, it's more about Recker having to reach for it and still getting that call.
Wow, right down Broadway.
So now 2 out, 2 in scoring position for Grady Sizemore, who has walked his last 2 plate appearances. The only 2 of the 3 walks that G gave up today. And Evelyn gets the first one over. Sizemore 1 for 5 in this series. A couple of lefties up in the Phillies bullpen, Antonio Bastardo and Jake Diekman. And Sizemore quickly down to the count 0-2. Dominic Brown would be next, another left-hand hitter. Evelyn gave up a couple of hits to start his stint, but got Utley to pop up, struck out Howard. Now he's ahead on Sizemore 0-2. Second and third and 2 out. 0-2. And that's inside. A ball and 2 strikes. Now it's 2-2. Phillies 3 runs, 9 hits. The Mets 5 runs and 9 hits. We're in the 7th. Sizemore hitting just over 300 as a Philly. His 41st game in the National League. Two coming. Got him. Evelyn with a slider strikes out Grady Sizemore and works the Mets out of a jam in the 7th. The Phillies get 1 run, but no more. Evelyn with some hard work to do. Got ugly to pop up. Struck out Howard and Sizemore. And gets the Mets to the 7th inning stretch, leading 5-3.
You never will see some.
Game in a row.
He had the finest year of any pitcher ever.
You never will see someone at the age of 20 perform like that. Never.
It was awesome. It was awesome. I just felt like when I take the mound, I'm going to win and I'm going to dominate.
The Good Doctor makes its debut tomorrow night, 9:30, right here on SNY. It's going to be a fascinating hour for any Met fan to watch.
I watched the very beginning of it. I was more interested in his upbringing and in the history of with his father and mother, and I thought that was just really well done.
Drive Around the Majors brought to you by Cadillac. Final day for contenders to acquire players who would be eligible for the postseason. The A's pick up slugger Adam Dunn from the White Sox. The Brewers get reliever Jonathan Broxton from the Reds. Meanwhile, the Orioles, who have the largest lead of any contender and made a couple of acquisitions yesterday, get another home run from Nelson Cruz, his major league leading 35th. They lead the Twins 6-2. That game is in the 6th. Our Verizon trivia question, we asked who were the 5 players to wear number 41 for the Mets, which of course is retired for Tom Seaver. The other 4, Clem Labine, Grover Powell, Jim Bethke, Gordy Richardson. I know you've never heard of any of them.
No, Clem Labine.
Well, saying most of the fans watching.
Clem pitched for the Brooklyn Dodgers.
He was a great relief pitcher.
Yes, he was.
Phillies go to the bullpen, and Antonio Bastardo will come on to pitch in the bottom of the 7th with the Mets leading 5-3.
No, Bastardo pitched in the game where he came in a tight spot, struck out Granderson.
Time for today's AT&T fan photo. That's a couple of generations right there, isn't it?
Yeah,
just terrific. It's been a better day for David Wright. A couple of hits, an RBI, and the Mets with a 5-3 lead, their best offensive day at Citi Field in quite some time, as they try to take the rubber game of this series from the Phillies in their final meeting of the year with Philadelphia. 2, 3, and 4 in the Mets batting order against Bastardo, with Den Decker, Wright, and Duda coming up. A.J. Burnett threw 100 pitches in 6 innings. Allowed 5 runs, 9 hits, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts, and the 1 big home run he gave up to Recker that snapped a 2-2 tie. 3-run shot by Recker in the 6th. Den Decker had an RBI double in the 5th. That tied up the game. And he takes a strike. Den Decker 3 for 8 in this series. And has swung the bat better after a 10-day span when he was struggling. Facing Bastardo, one of 4 lefties in that Philadelphia bullpen. He spikes that one. 1-1. The Phillies bullpen over the last 3 weeks or so has been pitching very well. Ken Giles has been an up-and-comer for them. Papelbon has continued to pitch well. Since the 5th of August, the Phillies bullpen has the 2nd best ERA in the majors, just behind the Braves. And they've yet to allow an earned run in this series. Den Decker hits it right at Utley. Nice easy hop. 1 away.
Nice swing on that.
Here's David Wright. David's 2 for 3 today, and after going 14 games without a run batted in, the longest RBI drought of his career, he drove in the go-ahead run for the Mets in the 5th with a base hit up the middle. So better finish to the month of August for Wright, who has had such a difficult time of it since the All-Star break. After today, just 4 weeks left in the season, and tomorrow is September 1st, which means that the rosters can expand. The Mets are playing a day game in Miami tomorrow, which makes it very unlikely that they'll add any call-ups tomorrow. Probably see a few extra folks there on Tuesday, but not many. You'll probably see a guy like Gonzalez Herman come back to give him an extra bullpen arm, but most of the players the Mets plan to call up, they will leave in Las Vegas because Las Vegas is in the Pacific Coast League playoffs, and since the Mets are not in the race, they'd rather see those young players get some postseason experience. One and two to Wright. And I think also the Mets feel as though they'd like to, give the Vegas folks some, some postseason success after just re-upping their deal with Vegas for 2 more years. Mets are in their 2nd season with their AAA affiliation there, and it's no secret that it's a big burden on the Mets having their AAA affiliate out west. In fact, the Mets have by far the longest distance between their home stadium and their AAA affiliate. It's not even close.
It's affected them sometimes this year as far as getting people, not being able to get people fast enough. They've had to plan in advance.
I mean, it would make perfect sense, wouldn't it, for the Mets and the Twins to trade? And I think for a while the Mets thought maybe that they'd be able to get into Rochester and get their AAA team in there, but that didn't work out. Rochester decided to re-up with the Twins, and so those 2 teams remain the furthest away from their AAA affiliate.
And of course, it was always the Mets for the Tidewater Tides down in Norfolk, but that's no longer.
Then they went to New Orleans and to Buffalo and finally Las Vegas. And there was some talk about the Mets getting out of Vegas because Vegas doesn't have a great facility. They've done a little work on the field there, but it's still a very hard field. They don't love the facilities there, but they feel they've upgraded somewhat. But the other thing is, if they moved somewhere else in the Pacific Coast League, if that opened up, they had the fear of not having as frequent commercial airline service as there is in Vegas. At least there are a lot of flights coming east every day from Las Vegas. David reaches for one and fouls it off. So it's not a great situation. Let's face it. But the Mets have put the best face on it, and they're going to have to deal with it for at least 2 more years.
Well, the Pacific Coast League has always been a league where they flew most of the time because of the distance. Portland, Albuquerque. Now they've expanded it. The American Association, when I played there, we bust. The longest bus ride was 12 hours to Denver, and we were happy to go to Denver. That was a great time. Be 20 years old and go to Denver.
Of course, there no longer is an American Association. It used to be there were 3 AAA leagues, now only 2. David slices one down the line, foul. Well, I was in the International League for a couple of years, and we flew just about everywhere.
Really? Yeah. We always bust.
In fact, you had Richmond and Tidewater. You had Columbus and Toledo. You had Pawtucket and Maine when I was in the league, Rochester and Syracuse, and so everybody would change planes in Philadelphia, and the whole league would meet on travel days.
Tulsa in the Western Division was Denver was the longest ride. Oklahoma City was 2 hours down the freeway. Wichita was a little around 3 hours. And in the East, you had to go to Omaha, decent ride. Evansville, Indiana, a decent ride. Des Moines, Iowa, long way away.
This will be the 9th pitch of the at bat from Bastardo to Wright. And David pulls one, and Ashe has it on the backhand. David certainly has had a better day swinging the bat. That hard ground out for the 2nd out.
Nice hands by Ashe on the backhand.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Lucas Duda. Duda 0 for 3 today and just 2 for 22 on this homestand. This is a lefty he's had some success against. He's 4 for 10 against Bastardo. Waves at that breaking ball, 0-1. And Bastardo quickly in front on Duda, 0-2. Flores has had a big day with 3 hits, hitting out of the 5-hole. Would be next. Coming to Duda, and he bounces one. Wasn't this the day we were going to keep track of how much time pitchers waste? We had that game tonight when we kept track of the hitters.
You know,
time outside the box.
You and Ronnie take care of it tomorrow night.
We get that big clock going.
I'm looking at the weather here. Well, the numbers don't lie, and he has been spectacular. Been the big growth in the back of the Met bullpen with Mejia, Familia, and Black of course on the DL. Beautiful 7, 8, and 9.
Familia worked Friday night, gave up a hit but a scoreless 8th inning to help nail down Jacob deGrom's victory in the opening game of the series. They'll face 6, 7, and 8 in the Phillies batting order. Brown, Nieves, and Ashe in the top of the 8th. Danny Evelyn worked the 7th, gave up a couple of hits, but then got 3 tough hitters out. Justin DeFreitas up in the Phillies bullpen. So Familia comes in. He'll face Dominic Brown, who's 3 for 3 today, 2 singles and a double. And Brown attacking the first pitch fastball, fouls it off. Well, you heard Steve Gelbs in that last report give you the score in St. Louis with the Cubs leading the Cardinals. Meanwhile, the Reds and Pirates are still 2-2. That game is now moved along into the 8th. And Milwaukee plays later on. The Brewers have lost the first 2 games of that series in San Francisco. In fact, last night they didn't get a hit till the 8th inning against Jake Peavy. So Milwaukee has seen their lead shrink to a single game over the Cardinals and 2 over the Pirates. So that thing may go right down to the wire. What was less expected is the close race they have in the American League Central, where the Tigers and Royals went into the day tied for the lead, and the fast charging Indians just 3.5 back. Cleveland 17-9 in August, and they play Kansas City again tonight. They've taken the first 2 of that series. Fly ball left center, long run back from Lagares to the track at the wall. It's out of here. Dominic Brown with his 4th hit of the game, an opposite field home run, his 8th of the season, and it cuts the Met lead to a single run. It's now 5-4. So a big day for Dominic Brown. Just the 3rd home run Familia has allowed in 66 innings this year.
High fastball. And Lagares just runs out of room.
And a nice grab by the guy in the orange t-shirt. So Brown with 2 singles, a double, and now his 8th home run of the year, a 4-for-4 day. Marlon Byrd will now bat for Will Nieves. Byrd, who hit his 25th home run of the year yesterday on his 37th birthday. It's a new career high for him. Will come to the plate in what is now a 1-run game. It's had a 5-2 lead after Recker's home run. But the Phillies put together a run in the 7th, and now the Brown home run in the 8th, making it a 1-run game. And Bird takes a slider for a strike. Cody Ashley, the number 8 hitter, on deck, and then you have to assume Carlos Ruiz will pinch hit, since he's going to have to come in the game behind the plate, with Bird batting for Nieves. There's Chooch figuring out which batting gloves are his. How do you know?
They're numbered.
I knew you'd know.
They have the on the top of the back of the hand. It's not the leather. It's more of a stretchy kind of fabric. You can see right there. You put your number, or you can put it over the band. You're there. You put your number, your name, whatever you want to do.
You never had that problem.
I didn't use it.
So much easier that way. Bird strikes out on 3 pitches. So Familia, after giving up the home run, takes care of Marlon Bird for the first out. Last time up, Cody Ashley hit a long fly ball into Lagares land. Inside the lines, brought to you by Scotch Blue Painter's Tape. Scotch Blue, see what you can do.
All about the ground he covers here. The fly ball's routine once he gets there. Because that's just, it's what he's paid to do, catch fly balls. But he covers so much ground.
And Ashley grounds the first pitch right at Herrera. And there are 2 out. Familia, after giving up the home run, retires the next 2. And now Carlos Ruiz will bat for the pitcher. Ruiz, who caught the first 2 games of this series, went 2 for 8 in those 2 games, a single and a double last night. So Ruiz batting for Bastardo. Ken Giles gets up alongside Justin DeFreitas in the Phillies bullpen. And the wind is starting to pick up a little bit here at Citi Field. Papers being blown across the outfield. There is rain on the way.
It is close. It's moving rapidly.
So it would behoove everybody on the field to move rapidly as well. 2-0 now to Ruiz. We're talking about that American League Central. Detroit is down 5-0 in Chicago this afternoon. Everybody thought the Tigers were just going to run away and hide in that division, and it just hasn't happened that way. Now it's 3-0 to Ruiz. Then Revere would be next. And ball 4. So Familia walks Ruiz on 4 pitches, and now the tying run is on base. And Revere will come to bat. He's 2 for 4 today. Single to right, single to left. He batted against Familia on Friday night and hit a bullet to left field that was caught. So Familia with a little lifting to do here in the 8th inning, trying to keep the Mets in the lead.
David Wright on the line, guarding the line, and do the same. Surprisingly, a very shallow outfield, particularly Dendecker in left. I'd like to see them move, not just Dendecker, move back a bit. I know that Revere doesn't have a lot of power, not a lot of extra base hits, but Don't want anything getting in the gap, tying this ball game up. There's 2 outs.
And that one skipped into record. Talking about that last night, familiar with that tendency to spike that fastball.
Yep. He can spike his slider too.
Jimmy Rollins would be next. So a little bit of a speed bump for Familia here in the 8th. Giving up the home run to Brown. That's a nice view.
It sure is.
1-1 to Revere. That's a good breaking ball. 1-2. Familia ahead on Revere 1-2. Line toward the middle, and Flores did not get it on the fly, but gets the force. Beautiful play by Flores to end the inning. He made the dive, got it on the short hop, and recovered in time to force Ruiz for the 3rd out.
Nice play right there by Flores. Gets the dangerous Rollins to lead off the inning instead of a chance to come up and win the ball game.
Big day for Flores. 3 hits. That big play to keep the Mets in the lead, and they'll lead off and go to the bottom of the 8th. Changes for the Phillies. Carlos Ruiz, who pinch hit, stays in behind the plate. Grady Sizemore moves from right field to center field. Marlon Byrd stays in the game in right field. Then Revere comes out, so the new pitcher, Justin DeFreitas, will hit in the number 1 spot in the order.
And DeFreitas' 3rd appearance in this series. He's been the guy they're wearing out.
He was the victim on Friday night when he gave up the fly ball to Lagares that Sizemore dropped. That brought in a couple of runs. And then last night he issued a bases loaded walk to Lagares in a similar spot. Here's Flores, who's having the big day, 3 for 3, and just made a tremendous defensive play to help out Familia in the top of the inning. Flores singled to center, had an infield hit, and then singled to left. He has his first big league stolen base today. He scored a run. And Wilmer fouls one away, and it's 0-2, which leads us to our forward box score. Wilmer with the 3 hits, Recker with the biggest hit, a 3-run homer that snapped a 2-2 tie in the 6th. And the Mets have been in front ever since. Flores, Neuenhuis, and Herrera as the Mets bid for some insurance for Mejia before he comes on for the 9th. Flores now 5 for 9 in this series. And he has to turn out of the way.
What's the about? Jeez. What's going on here?
Fouled away. Now the Phillies will be rolling out the lumber in the 9th. They've got Rollins, Utley, and Howard due up. 1-2 to Flores, and he tries to hold up, and he stopped it in time. Ed Hickox with the call down at first. 2-2.
I agree.
Two on the way. Foul back. In Toronto today, Jose Bautista homered for the 5th straight game.
Wow.
He's got 29 now, and that helped the Blue Jays beat the Yankees 4-3.
I don't. Let me see that. That puts the Yankees in very. Oh no, they're in
Started the day 3.5 back in the wild card.
They're in trouble.
I mean, Baltimore's pretty much they got that division locked up.
The wild card,
barring a collapse. Flores hanging in there. The game in Pittsburgh has gone to the bottom of the 8th. The Pirates and Reds still 2-2. The Cardinals are fighting back against the Cubs. It was 5-0 Chicago. Now it's 5-4. Matt Holliday and Colton Wong with homers for the Cardinals. That's only in the 5th inning. 8th pitch of the at-bat coming to Flores. And the breaking ball pulled just foul. And I think you can speak to this, Keith. It doesn't matter what the standings are. When the Cardinals play the Cubs, those games are intense.
Yes. Cardinals coming back. You're right.
I mean, the Cubs, they're not a factor in the race, but they would like nothing more than to put a hurting on the Cardinals. They split a day-night doubleheader yesterday. 2-2 coming, and Flores pops it up. Sizemore coming on. Makes the one-handed grab for the first out.
Very bold and daring.
So 1 out and nobody on now. Nieuwenhuis, who's 1 for 3. Kirk had a bunt single in the second, making his first start in 23 days. Curtis Granderson getting a day off today, struggling throughout the second half of the season, and so Nieuwenhuis getting a spot start. Terry Collins said that Curtis needed a day to clear his head and perhaps reset for the month of September. Ball and a strike to Nieuwenhuis. A.J. Burnett went the first 6 for the Phillies, allowed 5 runs and 9 hits. Antonio Bastardo worked a 1-2-3 8th. And now DeFreitas, who's worked in all 3 games of this series. This is with a breaking ball. 2-1 to Nieuwenhuis. Mejia getting ready for the save opportunity. Henry became the 2nd youngest Met to reach 20 saves the other night. The only younger closer for the Mets to save 20 games in a season was Neil Allen, who did it at age 22.
Neil Allen with the great curveball, threw hard,
and
was traded to the Cardinals for me.
Thank you for finishing that story.
Nieuwenhuis cracks it to deep right field. That goes Bird, and it's off the wall. Nieuwenhuis racing for second, and he is in with a hard hit double.
Ninth double of the year for Nieuwenhuis.
Nice swing on the fastball down the pipe. Almost out of here.
So the Mets looking for some insurance. Have a runner at second with 1 out. And Dilson Herrera coming up. Herrera in his 3rd big league game has gone 0 for 2 and a walk tonight. 1 for 8 so far, looking for his first big league RBI. Drove in 71 runs in the minor leagues this year.
There goes Nieuwenhuis stealing third. Ruiz's throw, not in time. Nieuwenhuis steals third, his 2nd of the year.
Good time for that 1-run lead, yes.
Actually his 3rd of the season. It's his 2nd of the game. He was on the back end of that double steal back in the 2nd.
And the Phillies got to bring the infield in, don't they? What's Rollins doing? He's
just taking his time.
Rollins going to play more halfway.
0-1 to Herrera. Ball and a strike. Well, you got Wrecker on deck, so I don't think DeFreitas would be heartbroken if he walked Herrera. That would set up the double play.
Chopper over the mound toward the middle, base hit. Neuenhuis in to score. Dilson Herrera has his first Major League RBI, and the Mets have an insurance run. 6-4 New York in the 8th.
That would get him that ball, too. They all count for number 1 RBI. Infield in. Bounce over the head of DeFreitas. Big run.
Placed perfectly.
Steal a base
for his first big league RBI.
Pedal to the metal.
So the Mets now with 11 hits. Neuenhuis helping to fashion that run with a double and the stolen base. Now Recker, who has the biggest hit in this game, a 3-run homer in the 6th inning that snapped a 2-2 tie. Neuenhuis getting the rare start and contributing. Eric Campbell is out on deck to pinch hit for Familia. And Recker takes a strike, 0-2.
Well, here's the big blow of the game right here. Breaking ball from Burnett. He knew it. So did Anthony. 3-run shot.
5th home run of the year for Recker. Look at that. Since joining the Mets, 8 of his 11 home runs have either given the Mets the lead or tied the game.
They've been big.
So he hasn't played much. He hasn't hit much, but when he has, it's been huge. Campbell on deck to pinch hit.
He'd be a great guy if you had 3 catchers. You know, to have him off the bench to pinch hit where you need a big bomb.
Well, maybe that'll happen in September. Slider misses. Mets will probably call up Juan Centeno, who was with the Mets earlier this year. That'll give him a 3rd catcher with no in the record. DeFreitas ahead 1-2 on Recker. And a fly ball hit to center. Sizemore right there waiting for it. That's the 2nd out, and Herrera back to 1st. So 2 out, and now Eric Campbell will pinch hit. Campbell appeared as a pinch hitter on Friday night and had a big role to play. Drew a walk and wound up stealing home in a double steal. First Met to do that in 3 years. And that was with DeFreitas on the mound. He drew the walk from Diekman, and then the Mets pulled that double steal after Sizemore dropped the fly ball. Tomorrow the Mets open their series in Miami with a Labor Day afternoon affair. Zach Wheeler against Henderson Alvarez. Our coverage begins tomorrow from Marlins Park at 12:30 in the afternoon. Slowly hit. DeFreitas off the mound. And he throws out Campbell to end the inning. But the Mets tack on a run. Neuenhuis with the double and steal. Herrera gets his first RBI to drive him in, and now it's off to Mejia land for the 9th. Slow motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com.
Well, a 1-2-3 inning would be nice for the Mets. Take the series. There's Mejia's numbers, going to go for 21 in the save department.
He saved a game on Friday night, struck out 3 in the 9th inning, worked around Herrera's error. Jimmy Rollins leads off against Mejia, trying to butt his way on with Wright playing back.
And G is the pitcher of record, or looking to go to 6-6 and even out his record.
It would be his 2nd straight win after 5 consecutive losses for G. G went 6 innings plus, allowed 3 runs, 7 hits. Dana Evelyn worked an inning, no runs, 2 hits. Familia gave up the home run to Brown in the 8th. That made it a 1-run game, with the Mets getting the insurance run on Herrera's RBI in the bottom of the 8th. Rollins slaps one up the middle, and that's a base hit, and the Phillies will get the tying run to bat against Mejia in the ninth. Third hit of the day for Jimmy Rollins. So it's not going to be that easy.
Good sinker too. Nice hitting. Not much you can do about that.
Rollins' his first ever hit against Mejia in 7 at bats.
Just a little bit of a stretch out there with the arms. That go with one hand.
So now Utley comes to the plate as the tying run. Chase is 0 for 4 today. 3 for 13 in this series. Each team now with 11 hits. Ryan Howard today hit his 41st career home run against the Mets, and the Philly triumvirate are 1, 2, 3 on the active list. And Utley grounds one down to first, a foul ball. Duda was on it, laying on the bag against Rollins. But foul all the way, and it's 0-2 with Howard waiting to follow. Boy, that extra run at the bottom of the 8th looks huge right now.
It sure does. You add on. Always add on, said the wise man.
That would be you.
No.
And Utley is hit by the pitch. Well, Utley's been hit by more pitches by far than any Philly in history, but there wasn't much he could have done about that one. The 167th time Utley's been hit by a pitch, and that puts the tying runs on base for Ryan Howard.
Well, let's see how the Mets are going to play defensively here with the double play in order. Howard already with 2 RBIs today, his 20th home run, 2 strikeouts. And they're going to bring the infield over. You see Flores on the second base side of second base. And the pitcher's best friend would be very sweet for you Met fans.
Howard with a double and a home run today. Evelyn struck him out in a big spot in the 7th. Now he faces Mejia, and he takes one that pops out of Recker's mid. It's ball 1. Howard is 3 for 9 with a home run against Mejia, who's given up a hit and hit a batter to start this 9th inning. Mets trying to hold off the Phillies and hold off the rain at the same time. From Henry. Bounce foul. 1-1. Howard with 2 RBIs today. 86 for the year. Started the day 4th in the National League in runs batted in. Despite the fact that by all measures this has not been a successful year for him. But see what he's done late in games. More than any other National League hitter. He has had those late go-ahead RBIs. Rollins at second, Utley at first, and nobody out. 6-4 New York, 9th inning. Two and 1. Grady Sizemore is the on deck batter. Familia had his bobble in the 8th inning, gave up the Dominic Brown home run. Was able to get through in part because of a nifty defensive play by Wilmer Flores. Howard hits one into the shift. Herrera goes to second, gets the force there. Flores' relay in time, double play. Flores with another tremendous play.
in the middle of that 4-6-3 with Utley bearing down on him. And the Phillies are down to their final out.
Nice turn, Wilmer. And not an unusual throw for Herrera. Probably hasn't had to make a throw like that deep in the outfield. Right on the money. Look at Wilmer's sidestep. Well done.
Well, Howard has all sorts of problems getting down the line, and it pays off for the Mets there.
Boy, that's huge.
So now the tying run is taken off base. Sizemore the tying run at the plate. He's 0 for 2 with a pair of walks today.
So keep it in the ballpark. Well, Howard, of course, with the Achilles tendon injury, does not look like he's running on eggs. He's busting as hard as he can. Mejia very animated.
Looked like he was choreographing. So a huge double play. Second big one the Mets have turned today. And they have lived on the precipice for a good part of the afternoon. G was able to get out of a couple of big jams. Got the bases loaded double play from Nieves to end the fourth. Worked out of a first and third jam in the sixth. Evelyn was able to sidestep further damage in the seventh. And now Mejia getting the big double play in the ninth. 2-0 to Sizemore. And he takes it at the knees for a strike. 2-1.
Well, here it is from a different angle. Long throw for Herrera. He's got a nice arm. And you can see that Flores didn't have much on the throw because in came a good strong slide out of Utley. Nice play all the way around.
There's a strike. 2-2. I found it interesting watching Utley. He was as though he was going to turn. He thought it was a base hit.
Right.
He was going to turn second and try and get
And then he slid. He could have slid right. He could have killed Flores as a result.
So now the Phillies are down to their final strike. Two to Sizemore.
Lined into right field. That's a base hit. That'll bring home a run. Rollins trots in, and now it's 6-5 New York.
Huge RBI from Herrera. His first major league RBI of his young career. And that's the difference in the ball game right now. Fastball right down the pipe. Lucky he didn't lift that.
So Sizemore drives in the run to make it 6-5. Now he's the tying run at first base.
And Dominic Brown, who's had himself the best day of anybody, 4 for 4 today. A double, a solo home run, 2 singles.
4 for 4. His 8th home run of the year was against Familia, leading off in the 8th. And he takes a fastball up and away for ball 1. So this game is not going away easily.
And because of the flip-flop of the lineup, you got Marlon Byrd in the on-deck circle, who's 5th in the National League in home runs.
Brown is 3 for 4 in his career against Mejia. So nothing coming easily for the Mets this afternoon.
And Brown grounds one to short. Flores has got it. And the ball game is over. Wilmer Flores was everywhere today. With the bat, with the glove. The Mets got out of jam after jam. Herrera got his first RBI. Recker with the big 3-run homer. Dylan G gets his second straight win, and the Mets take the rubber game from the Phillies 6-5.
Well, they end their season series. The Mets dominating the Phils. They wind up 5-4 at home against Philadelphia. They killed them in Philly. And you said it, Flores had himself a really nice day, both in the field at the plate, 3 for 4. A lot of positives. Dendecker with an RBI double. 3 RBIs with Anthony Recker on that 3-run shot on a 2-2 ball game. That was in the 6th that gave the Mets the 3-run lead, a lead they would never relinquish.
Phillies kept on coming back. Met pitchers kept getting huge outs right down to Mejia in the ninth, earning his 21st save of the year. Dominic Brown had 4 hits, but Mejia got him on the ground ball for the final out. And the Mets take 2 out of 3 from the Phillies as they win it 6-5. For every Mets win, the Mets Foundation is proud to contribute $2,500 to the Cats Women's Hospital and the Cats Institute for Women's Health. For more information, visit northshorelij.com/KIWH. This win brings the total contribution so far this season to $160,000. Mets win at 6-5. Let's send it down to the field to Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin.
All right, Gary, thanks very much. We've got Anthony Recker here, and you had the big hit in this one. Tell me about the home run. What did you see there? What were you expecting that at bat?
The first pitch curveball, I was just able to put a good part of the bat on it. He started me off with curveballs the first 2 at-bats. I wasn't necessarily looking for it, but, it was in the back of my mind. So,
Anthony, how challenging has it been for you to get on a groove offensively? Because you haven't played that much. So how tough has that been for you, and what have you done to stay fresh offensively?
Yeah, it's always tough. We got a lot of bench players who, are trying to stick it out. But, I was able to, like I said, get a good pitch there. And honestly, it's just about sticking to a game plan, whatever your game plan is. Today, for me, I just wanted to see some pitches. I was able to do that the first couple at-bats, and I think that helped me there in that at-bat.
You only got a couple of big outs. For instance, a double play against Nieves that came earlier in the game with the bases loaded. What did you see from him in those big situations that allowed him to get out of the jam?
He was just able to bear down and make the big pitches when he need to. He got himself in a couple jams, but he was able to pitch his way out. That's what he needs to do, when he doesn't have his best stuff, and that was awesome by him today.
One last thing, finally, do we have a name for the Mejia end of game thing? Do you look at this every time he closes the game, and how would you describe that?
I've heard it called the backbreaker, but I don't know what it's called.
The backbreaker. That may stick. I don't know. Congrats on the win and on the home run.
Thank you.
Anthony Recker, big game from him. Let's go back upstairs to you, Gary.
All right, thanks very much. The backbreaker with just a tad of sweat today for Henry Mejia. He had to sweat it out in the ninth. Familia gave up a run in the 8th. Mejia gave up a run in the 9th, but the Mets had just enough as they hang on to beat the Phillies 6-5. More coming up from Citi Field in just a moment.